We're here with one more episode of Before You Buy. That show will give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. And we're in the middle of a week where a billion games come out, but today we're talking about Far Cry New Dawn. We got our hands on a review copy, so we've been playing it for a while, and basically Far Cry 5 is back, and it's like more post-apocalyptic than ever. Since it's been spoiled everywhere now, at one of the endings of Far Cry 5, the world faces nuclear destruction, and Far Cry New Dawn picks up 17 years after the events of, like, Joseph Seed and Project at Eden's Gate and the cult versus the American citizen shenanigans, and surprisingly, in a sea of post-apocalyptic games everywhere, this Far Cry take on it all still manages to feel kinda unique and not just another post-apocalyptic game. The problem for some might be, it's just another Far Cry 5. Now, this is a lower-priced spin-off game and absolutely feels kind of like an expansion, and that's okay. There are changes in place to take the game to a different level, mostly a fairly deep base upgrade system and some more RPG elements like damage ratings and damage numbers when you shoot enemies. That right there is a big change for the series, and it changes the flow of the game quite a bit progression-wise. The game itself feels a lot like Far Cry 5, like I said, and by the end, I was satisfied and good with Far Cry 5, though. That's the only problem. Moment-to-moment gameplay, capturing outposts, shooting dudes, sneaking around, wingsuiting, bow and arrow, hunting. I found myself kind of bored to mildly interested. I wouldn't say that's like the end-all be-all for some. I've talked to many people who finished Far Cry 5 and just wanted more. Personal taste-wise, I just happen to not really be one of those people. I'm good. But I think the systematic changes here that aren't moment-to-moment gameplay are still worth taking a look at, even if you're an average Far Cry fan. I do love these games still. I just want a bigger refresh in the next one. But you essentially start out in the southern part of the map that is apparently smaller than Far Cry 5's, kind of like squeezed into the middle of it. That's what it feels like. You essentially work your way up the map this time, capturing stuff, finding allies, and taking back Hope County from an occupying force known as the Highwaymen. The slight RPG systems work well. It feels like there's plenty of perks to upgrade multiple times to make your character stronger. That was, of course, pretty much in the previous game, but the upgrading your home base to give you benefits is really cool. Taking out outposts nets you ethanol resources that you can spend to upgrade individual branches of the base, from like the infirmary to the training camp, and it's pretty satisfying to work towards. You not only see the base grow in front of you physically, you also get benefits and perks from it, like extra health bars to the ability to craft higher level weapons. Crafting weapons takes quite a bit of grinding, finding special areas with real good stuff, opening and scavenging everything. The game really makes you work for the cooler weapons. And weapons here are color-coded and have like a rough ranking of 1, 2, or 3 levels. And essentially, enemies in harder areas, the more north or east you go, the bigger their health bar. And the higher level weapons with better damage ratings will make quicker work of them. It's almost in danger of making you feel like you have less freedom in a Far Cry game, but I kind of learned to embrace it. Parachuting into an extremely hostile, hard area and fighting my way out in spots has been kind of awesome. It still has the whole, get objectives while you explore thing, which I think was a good thing to carry over from Far Cry 5 because it encouraged more organic exploration and didn't just like automatically pepper the map with a ton of overwhelming icons. And exploring is still cool at the very least because I like the change up in the environments. I don't care that it's partly a reskin or whatever, it feels different enough to me. Coming across old landmarks again and seeing how they've been destroyed, overgrown, or just taken over by bandits makes for some fun little discoveries. Like seeing the town of Falls End was pretty depressing, and taking back the mountain where the Joseph Seed statue once was cool. And I gotta admit, once the game starts to bring you through the weeds of the story and like how it connects directly to Far Cry 5, I was pretty interested to see how it pans out. Like 5, I could only care so much about some of the characters they brought back because a lot of them felt kind of bland, but just seeing what happened to the cult and the world and all the doomsday preppers and just the areas strung me along playing, even if I was somewhat bored with the moment-to-moment gameplay that has, pretty much been the same since Far Cry 3. But I do think the story thing they're doing between 5 and New Dawn is also some of the most interesting things the series has done. The villainous gang of the Highwaymen, led by those two twins that you've probably seen on the cover art that get their time to, be voice acted and mocapped and they get in your face. And just like every other Far Cry game, like they're pretty interesting, they're well acted and cool, but sometimes you just don't see them enough. But the gang they lead feels a lot like the crazy Eden's Gate cult members from 5. They're all extremely dumb AI-wise, but they're crack shots. and they have a habit of always showing up every few minutes in inconvenient places and destroying everything. But there are some enemy faction variations I don't want to spoil. But there's also some irradiated areas and some mutated animals that are like a nice weird spin on normal native animals that you can spend some time hunting. Plus, you get a lot more play out of the outposts. Like when you take them over, you can get resources over time, or take some of them and then let the outpost be taken over again by the highwaymen. And then you can just tackle the outpost again for more reward, but just face a higher difficulty level. The best part of the game gameplay-wise, in my opinion, are the expeditions. Like once you upgrade the helicopter at Prosperity, you're able to go out for resources on little off locations, side spin-off missions. They're separated by loading screens, and they're just like one big level, like an abandoned aircraft carrier turned highwayman stronghold stranded off the coast of Florida. There's like a fairground, a more deserty area, and just some crazy stuff. Like, does it make sense? No. Is it fun? Yeah, absolutely. Some of the best level and encounter design in the game is here. And of course, once again, you can do co-op with a friend. It works pretty much like it did in Far Cry 5, which wasn't ideal, but it's still fun. Ultimately, you know, like I said, this is more Far Cry. It's a spin on Far Cry 5, it's lower priced, and it's okay. But of course, this is a before you buy it. If you can't tell, we give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion thrown in there. So now we definitely want to hear yours down in the comments. This was one of the many games that released on Friday the 15th. So if you are playing it, I want to know what you think. If you skipped it for another game, I want to hear that too. I want to know what you think about the story ramifications from 5 to New Dawn. Let's talk about all Far Cry stuff down in the comments. But if you learned a thing or two, clicking the like button really helps us out. We definitely appreciate that. And if you're new as well, subscribing and hitting the notification bell is a good idea because we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.